Hello there, welcome to the Football Bloc. My name is Brandon, and today we're going to do something a little different. I have a tier list, and I'm going to rank every single World Cup team's chance to win the tournament for 2022 in Qatar. If that sounds interesting, then let's hop right into it. So as you can see by this Costa Rica shirt, all the intercontinental playoffs has finished, and we have every single one of the 32 teams confirmed for the 2022 World Cup. So I thought that it'd be interesting to do a little exercise, a little fun game to see, kind of map out all the teams' chances, how they're going to do at the World Cup, what are their chances of winning. Obviously, there's a lot of teams that are very good, a lot of teams that are not so good. So I made this tier list with all 32 countries, and we have several categories here. We have genuine chance, and these are teams that, anyone could predict that they're going to win. These are teams that are very, very serious contenders. And then we have in the realm of possibility, meaning, these teams are very, very good. They may not be the people's first choice if you were to ask them who's going to win the World Cup, but if they were to win, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. It'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Then we have genuine dark horses. Now, these are teams that they might have a slight chance to win the World Cup. If they win, it'll still be a surprise, but it wouldn't be a complete out of the dark surprise, kind of like, Leicester winning the Premier League in 2016. That's a complete surprise. This is not like that. This is a dark horse team. Think, say, Colombia in 2014. If Colombia had won the World Cup, that would obviously have been a miracle. But at the same time, you could be like, okay, look, they have a very strong squad going into the tournament. You can make an argument in some sense. Then we have miracle territory. So this is the Leicester 2016 territory. These teams, they may be good teams, but there's no one's really predicting them to win the World Cup. And if they somehow win the World Cup, it'll be an absolute madness because very rarely do little teams win the World Cup. Every single World Cup has been won by a serious team. Now, some smaller teams have gotten close. I mean, obviously, we had Croatia in the final just 4 years ago, but it is very rare that you see a complete underdog win the World Cup, given that this is only once every 4 years, and the history and the culture of these countries and teams. And then the last category is the unfortunate one, and these are the teams that have absolutely no chance at all. Kind of self-explanatory there, but I want to say every team that makes it to the World Cup is a relatively good team. I mean, you can't just make it to the World Cup off of pure luck. You have to have some talent, but still, when you compare all the teams, there's some guys you just look at them and you're like, okay, yeah, they're not winning. There's no chance. They may do good. They may, surprise a few teams here and there, but there's no chance they're winning. So anyway, without further ado, let's go alphabetical order in each of these countries, and I'm going to put them all in their categories. And then at the end, we'll see how it all pans out. So anyway, we have Argentina starting off. And this Argentinian team is the best Argentinian team that I have ever seen in my whole life. Now, granted, I only started really paying attention to football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, around 2014. And that Argentinian team that made it to the final in the 2014 World Cup was very good, but they had some visible weaknesses. Obviously, their defense, as well as they performed in that tournament, wasn't necessarily filled with world-class players. And then their attack, which was filled with world-class players, they didn't perform. Now, compare that to now. Yes, they may not have as many superstars, but the team is an actual team. It's a very strong team collective. They have very well-rounded players in defense, midfield, attack. The coach, Lionel Scaloni, is a very good coach. And of course, they have Messi. And it's really funny because back in the day, everyone was like, okay, Messi, he plays amazing for Barcelona, but when it comes to Argentina, he's nowhere to be found, or even if he's good, he's not as good. Today it's flipped. He doesn't really show up for PSG. I mean, he just doesn't seem like he cares. I mean, it's PSG. Like, you're playing in the French league. Like, how much effort do you really have to put into it? When it comes to Argentina, though, Messi is on it. He's given some of his best ever performances in a Albi Celeste shirt as of late. So I'm going to put Argentina in genuine chance. Now, a lot of people have been really hyping up this team, and I want to be careful with it because, you know, you don't want to overhype a team, and I really want to see Messi do well. It'd be great to see him finally win the World Cup. But, you know, I have to be honest, this is a very, very strong team, and I do think that there is a very, very real possibility that they could end up the winners of this World Cup. So anyway, on from there, we have Australia, and, you know, credit to Australia for making it to the World Cup. I thought they played very well against Peru in the Intercontinental Playoff. I didn't think that they were going to make it. I underestimated them. But I don't really expect much from this Australian team. They're in a very tough group. I don't think they'll even make it out of the group stage. Most of these players, they play in, you know, some of the relatively weaker leagues in Europe or in the A-League. They don't necessarily have a strong star-studded squad. I don't think that they'll get blown out in every game, but there is no chance of them winning the World Cup. Absolutely no chance. As for Belgium, now, I have to be honest, I don't really like this Belgium team. I think they are incredibly overrated. I've been saying that for years. And, you know, it's just, this team has kind of teased success. Everyone over the past few years saying like, oh, Belgium, they're going to win the World Cup. They're going to win the Euros. And then they never do. They disappoint at every single tournament. They always make it to around the quarterfinals, just without even really playing that well. They kind of just rely on individual performances, make it that far, and then they come up against an actual team, and then they get eliminated. I think this is Belgium's last ever chance if they actually want to win some silverware, because most of their players are getting on in age. They already lost some players. There's no more Company, no more Vertonghen or Alderweireld. I think the serious problem with Belgium also is their manager. I think they wasted their golden generation on two subpar managers, Marc Wilmots and Roberto Martinez. And it doesn't look like he's going to be switched out anytime before the World Cup. And with that being said, I'm going to put Belgium in a genuine dark horse category because obviously, you know, they could still win. They have some very, very talented players. Who knows? Kevin De Bruyne could just have an amazing tournament. Lukaku could go on a crazy run of scoring goals. But I don't think that they have a genuine chance. And it's, you know, it's in between this. Like, I'm debating whether or not to put them in this category. But I don't know. I think that the time for Belgium has gone. So as for the next country, we have Brazil. Brazil is Brazil. They're always going to be favorites to win the World Cup. They're always going to have world-class players scattered throughout the team. But I have to say, I think that this Brazilian team is the best Brazilian team that we've seen in a while. Obviously, 2014, when they hosted the World Cup, they didn't do very well. 7-1 and everything like that. But you just look at the squad, it wasn't a very strong squad. I think 2018, they had, in terms of player quality, a very good squad. And I actually think that that was probably their World Cup to win. But there's little mistakes here and there, specifically with defense. Also, Neymar didn't really have the best tournament. But I think this time around, the team is much more well-rounded, much more experienced. Chiche as well is a very good manager. I'm going to put them in genuine chance. I would not be surprised at all to see Brazil win this World Cup. Not to mention, it has been a long time since, not just Brazil, since a South American country has won the World Cup. And I feel like it's now or never for a country like Brazil. They're usually a country that shapes world football, a country that is one of the teams that just revolutionize an era. And if they don't win, or if they don't particularly do well, then the entire football world is probably just going to move past them, and they're going to be forgotten into the dust of time. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but still, I think it's now or never for Brazil. I would not be surprised at all to see them win. Next, we have Canada. Now, this Canadian team is very hard to judge because in CONCACAF, they destroyed everyone. They were very, very good in CONCACAF. They topped the table. They played some beautiful football. They have a very, very young and exciting squad as well. but we haven't really seen them play other teams outside of North America, so it's kind of hard to judge just how good this team is. So I'm going to put them in miracle territory because I don't think they have much pressure on them. This team, like I said, very young, don't have a lot of experience. They've never played at the World Cup before. None of these players have played at the World Cup before. The last time Canada made it was, I believe, 1986 or 82, something like that. So these players don't have a lot of pressure on them. It could go either way. They could either, have a terrible tournament or go really far. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win, but they have more of a chance than some of these other teams. Next up, we have Cameroon. Now, Cameroon hosted the last AFCON. I thought they played very well at the AFCON, specifically Toku Kambi and Abubakar. They had a wonderful, wonderful tournament. That being said, they also had some very visible flaws. Their defense is not the best. They tend to concede a lot of goals. And the World Cup is very different than the AFCON. Unfortunately for Cameroon, I'm going to put them in the no chance at all. I don't really think they'll make it out of their group. They're in a group that is pretty tough for them. And I don't really see them going any farther than that. On from there, we have Croatia. And Croatia was very good in 2018. Obviously, they made it to the final. They were this close from winning. In my opinion, they actually outplayed France in the final, and it was very sad to see them lose. But that team is no longer here anymore. Most of those guys are retired or very, very old. The only one who's still around and playing to the capacity that he was 4 years ago is Modric. So if you look at this team, just look at their performance at the last Euros. They had some good games, but then they also had some terrible games. They conceded 5 goals to Spain. I don't think that this team is going to be able to replicate anywhere near the success they did 4 years ago. So I'm going to put them in the miracle territory because, of course, they do still have some very good players, but I don't think that they're going to do much at this tournament, unfortunately for Croatia. Next up, we have Costa Rica, who just qualified. I think that this team could be a team for the future. They have a lot of exciting talent mixed in with some veterans. Who knows? Maybe they could be a surprise underdog. I mean, look, 2014, they made it all the way to the quarterfinals, which was absolutely insane. And they were only a penalty shootout away from making it to the semis. Because of that, I'm going to put them in miracle territory because obviously a lot of those players who were there at 2014 are still around, but they're much older. Now, yes, they do have some young and inexperienced guys coming in who are very talented, but I don't really think we're going to see much from them. I think they have a slightly better chance than, say a team like Australia or a team like Cameroon, but still, it's not really saying much. Next up, we have Denmark, and I think this Danish team is a seriously good team. I'm already just going to put them in the realm of possibility. This is the team that I think if everything goes right, if they're in good form, if all their players are performing to their potential, they could actually win the World Cup. Now, it's not likely. I don't think that, I'm not going to say that they're my number one favorites, but I think it is definitely in the realm of possibility. Just look how well they played at the Euros. They started off their first 2 matches. They had some serious things going through in the squad. Obviously, Christian Eriksen with his heart failure, and then they had to go up against Belgium. They lost that game to Belgium after losing to Finland, and yet they were completely able to turn it around. They destroyed Russia. They destroyed Wales. They overcame a very strong Czech Republic side, and they were this close to beating England. I think England played better in that match, but still very, very close. And who knows what would have happened if they made it to the final. I think that this team is going to be the same. I don't think that their team is going to be any less talented than they were at the Euros. If anything, they'll have a lot more experience. Now, yes, they will have some more pressure on them because people will be expecting them to do as good, or at least in the ballpark. But this team is very well-rounded. There's a lot of players, a lot of relatively unknown players, but there is some serious talent here. And I'm going to, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'm putting them in this second category here. Now, moving on from there, we have Ecuador. And this Ecuadorian team is a very fun team to watch, especially in the South American qualifiers. They scored some really nice goals. They had some, really great performances. but most of these guys are complete nobodies to, at least to fans of just global soccer in general. Like, there's a lot of guys playing in Liga MX, so if you're a Liga MX fan, or if you're Ecuadorian, you know who these players are. But just in general, there's so much inexperience in the squad, and I think this team is similar to Canada in the sense that there's not really much pressure on them. They're just playing here to have fun. They could end up playing really well or really bad. But the difference between them and Canada is I think Ecuador is in a much harder group. Canada has a relatively easier path out of the group versus Ecuador. I think most people would agree that they're probably not going to make it out of the group stage. I mean, who knows? But I'm going to put them in no chance at all, unfortunately. I don't think they have it in them to get anywhere near the semifinals or the final. Who knows in the future? I mean, this team is getting better and better with each year. So on from there, we have England. This English team is not the most popular team. A lot of people like to hate on England, including me. I'm not a big fan of England for various reasons. But I have to admit, this English team is very, very good. Similar to Argentina, this is the best English team I've ever seen in my lifetime. They were very close from winning the Euros. They were only a penalty shootout away. It was a 50-50 game. Look back at the 2018 World Cup, they got to the semifinals. Granted, they were a little lucky. They did get a favorable side of the bracket, but this team now is far better than they were in 2018, at least in terms of player squad. There's a lot more talented players. A lot of those players in 2018 are better now. A few notable exceptions. I mean, Harry Maguire is not as good anymore. Dele Alli, for example. But other than that, I mean, Harry Kane is still scoring tons of goals. And then they have new and upcoming players like Phil Foden and Jadon Sancho, Jack Grealish, guys like that. I am going to put England in the genuine chance category. If anything, I think England actually might be my number one favorites. Now, yes, I know, I don't like this English team. I would be very disappointed if they win. And yes, they just lost 4-0 to Hungary in the Nations League, but take that with a grain of salt. The Nations League, I don't really think anyone necessarily tries, and that, at least among the big teams, doesn't seem like that serious of a tournament. And it was a bit of a fluke of a result. But this English team, something about them, they just seem the most well-rounded, the most, I guess, solid. They don't play the best football at all. Sometimes they even play disappointing football, and it seems like they can be doing a lot better. But they somehow find a way to win a lot of their games. Their defense is very, very good, and in a World Cup, in a big tournament like this, sometimes that can win you the tournament. So I am going to comfortably put them in the genuine chance category. On from there, we have France. Now, if you watch the channel, or if you watch some of my recent videos about the World Cup, you would know that I really, really don't like this French team. I think they are massively overrated. I was super disappointed that they won the last World Cup. I thought they didn't deserve it at all, or, maybe not didn't deserve it, but I thought, compare them to the rest of the previous world champions, I think this is one of the weakest, if not the weakest, world champions ever. This team is very, very talented. They have the best squad in the world, and what is most disappointing about this team is they could be playing so much better, but they just don't work together as a team. They rely on individual performances here and there, or luck. I think that's how they won the World Cup, and I think they got a little exposed at the Euros, and because of that, I'm not going to put them in the genuine chance, because I don't think this team just clicks. I don't think they work together. It's not like, say, 2014 Germany, 2010 Spain, or 2006 Italy. You just look at each of these World Cup winning teams, everything about them is nearly perfect. There's a lot of flaws with this French squad, but at the same time, they have so many talented guys, anything could happen. I'm going to put them in the realm of possibility, because if they win the World Cup, no one is really going to be that surprised. It's going to be like, okay, but it's France, they're the defending champions. They have Mbappe and Pogba and Benzema. But at the same time, there's also the possibility of the Champions Curse. I mean, I to be honest, I don't think that France is going to get eliminated in the group stage. That will be way too uncanny for, I think this would be the 4th World Cup running if they do get eliminated in the group stage. I don't think that's going to happen. That being said, I don't think they're going to win. So in that sense, maybe the Champions curse is going to continue, but they're not going to eliminate the group stage. Still, I'm not going to put them in the genuine chance because there are serious flaws with this team. Next, we have Germany. And this German team is a little hard to judge because they just got rid of Joachim Low and they brought in Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated manager in the world. That Bayern team that won the Champions League in 2020 was one of the best teams, best club sides that I have seen in a long time. They completely wiped everyone off the map. And if he's able to replicate at least, 75% of those performances with this German team, then, it is very, very possible to see them win the World Cup. But, I think it is still a little too early. This German squad is also somewhat in transition. There still remain some of the veterans from the 2014 win, but at the same time, there's a lot of new up-and-coming guys coming into the squad. And their past results have been up and down. They haven't played that great. They've won some games where they don't really play that well. They've played well in other games that they haven't won. It's just kind of up and down. I don't think that I've seen enough to put them in the genuine chance, so I'm going to put them in this second category in the realm of possibility. Just like these other teams here, it's Germany. They almost always do well at major international tournaments. I don't think that they'll win, but it is still very possible. Now for 2026, I think they will probably go into this category by that time if they keep going up on the upward direction that they are currently at. Anyway, from there, we have Ghana. Now, unfortunately for any of you guys viewing this video, if you're from Ghana or of Ghanaian descent, I think Ghana is the worst team at this World Cup. I think they were very, very lucky to make it. It was a crazy match against Nigeria, where obviously it's a huge rivalry, biggest rivalry in African international football. So anything could happen. It was just a very chaotic game. They went through off a deflected goal. Also, this Nigerian team does have a penchant for bottling it at the biggest moments. So I do think that Ghana is relatively lucky to be here. They have some talented players, but nothing really of note. The Ayew brothers are still around, but still, they're no longer the players that they used to be. Thomas Partey is probably their best player, and he's not, a huge superstar or anything like that. So I'm going to put Ghana in no chance at all. It'd be great if they, completely prove me wrong and do really well, but I don't think they're going to do anything. Not to mention, they're in a very tough group as well. On from there, we have Iran. Now, I think actually Iran might be the strongest team from Asia to qualify for this World Cup. They're not filled with superstars. Most of their squad is completely unknown to any of those who aren't Iranian. But it is a very solid team, a very robust team. They work really well together as a unit. And I also defensively, I think is their biggest strength. They are very good defensively, as they've shown at the last World Cup. In fact, if they weren't in such a tough group in 2018, they definitely could have made it out of the knockout stage. So I'm going to put them in miracle territory. I don't think that, obviously they're going to get anywhere near the final or the semifinals, but they have a higher chance to actually win the World Cup, more so than these other teams in the category below. On from there, we have another Asian team with Japan, and historically, Japan is the best team in Asia. I don't think that they're as strong now as they have been in the past. For example, that team in 2010, that was a very strong Japanese side. They went on to win the Asian Cup as well. But even still, they do have some good players. They will definitely not be a pushover. However, they are in a very tough group with Spain and Germany. I don't think that there's much, any chance for them to get out of the group. I think they're probably the weakest team in that group. So because of that, I'm going to put them in no chance at all. I don't think we're going to see Japan come anywhere near the latter stages of this tournament, unfortunately. On from there, we have Mexico, and this Mexican team is not as strong as years past, but Mexico is always very consistent at the World Cup. They always do good enough in the group stage to make it to the round of 16 and then get eliminated in the round of 16. So I'm going to put them in miracle territory. I don't think that they're going to win. I actually think they will make it out of the group stage. A lot of people, including a lot of people who are Mexican themselves, are really disappointed with the squad, with the manager. And I think there is an ounce of truth to that. I think that this Mexican team could be playing a lot better. And even still, though, their squad has been declining over the past few years. But I think they have enough in them to make it to the round of 16 where they'll get eliminated again. So that's why I'm putting them in Miracle territory, because there's, they have much more of a chance to win the World Cup than, say, Ghana or Ecuador or, Cameroon. But at the same time, I don't think this team is better than, say, the round of 16, though, if I'm being perfectly honest. So from there, we have Morocco. And this Moroccan team, I don't know, like on paper, especially in the past, this team has looked like a team that could be the best team in Africa. Hakimi Ziyech, even though he's not in the national team at the moment, and Nasiri. They do have Bono. They have a very talented squad, but they always kind of come short. Specifically, just look at the last AFCON. They got eliminated on penalties, yes, but they really kind of just like sludged their way through the tournament. They weren't really that good. So I'm going to put them in no chance at all. I don't really think we're going to see much from Morocco in this tournament. Here we have up next the Netherlands, and this is an interesting one because this is the first time we're seeing the Netherlands in the World Cup since they got third place in 2014. In fact, they missed not only Euro 2016, but also the last World Cup. Very disappointing run of years from them, but they're finally back. They have a very exciting squad. I think this is a fun team to watch. Louis van Gaal is back, interestingly enough, as well. But I don't think they have it in them to win the World Cup. I don't think it is a case where they have a genuine chance. And it is going to be in between, in the realm of possibility and a genuine dark horse, because I think this team is very inexperienced. But at the same time, it is the Netherlands. They made it to 3 finals historically. So I don't know which one to put him in. Well, I'm going to put him in the dark horse one simply because the experience. I think just, a lot of these guys have never played at the World Cup before. A lot of these guys, their only international experience is, the last Euros. So I'm going to put them in the dark horse category alongside their neighbors, Belgium. On from there, we have Senegal, who, in my opinion, are the best team in Africa. Now, saying that, I do think some people have overrated the Senegalese team. Some people are saying, they can make it to the semifinals. They could maybe get to the final. I don't think they're going to do that. This team is very robust, and they're very solid defensively. Going forward, though, they are a little disappointing. I think they don't dominate matches as they can be. We've seen that at the AFCON where they won and they were deserving champions, but even still, they were like, not in some of the games, they weren't even the best team in the game. But you don't necessarily have to play the best football to progress through a tournament. So I'm going to put them in the genuine dark horse category, because if everything goes right and their defense is as strong as usual, and then let's say, Sadio Mane has a wonderful tournament, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Up next, we have Poland. Now, this Polish team is kind of hit or miss. I think some matches they play absolutely terrible. Then other matches they actually play really well. For example, the way they qualify for this tournament with that 2-0 win over Sweden, I think that's the best I've ever seen this Polish team play in, maybe since Euro 2016 or something like that. They played really well in that match. Their squad is okay. They have some very good players, and then some average to below average players. So I initially had them in my head. I was going to put them in the no chance at all, but I'm going to put them in the miracle territory simply because of Robert Lewandowski. If he has an amazing tournament, he can drag this team to who knows where, because he is one of the best strikers in the world. If not for Benzema, he would be the best striker on the planet. And, I've said this before. If Lewandowski has a good tournament, Poland has a good tournament. Unfortunately for him, it hasn't really panned out that way over the past few years. But still, the possibility is there. So because of Lewandowski, I'm putting them in miracle territory. Then we have Portugal. Now, this team has one of the best squads in the world right now. Just look at that attacking lineup. You have obviously Ronaldo, but you have Jota, João Felix, and then you have Fernandes in the midfield, Ruben Neves, Sergio Oliveira, William Carvalho, Ruben Diaz, Pepe in defense. This team is very, very good. I can go on just listing all the amazing players that they have. But the problem is the manager. Fernando Santos, in my opinion, is not the right manager for the job. He did great. Don't get me wrong. He did absolutely wonderful to get Portugal to win Euro 2016, which was a genuine miracle. I mean, he won the World Cup with Eder, but he's not the right manager for this kind of team. He is the kind of manager you put with a team like that, where they're not going to play well. You just gotta be really pragmatic and conservative, get your wins from somewhere, and then keep going forward. Now, this team has way too much talent to just be playing that boring defensive style. They have so many genuine superstars. They need a guy like, say, Ancelotti or someone like that who can just talk to all the big egos, handle them, and then get them to play to their best, play to their ability. And they don't have that at the moment. And obviously, they're not going to sack their manager right before the tournament, unless you're Spain, of course. But they're not going to do that. Hopefully, most likely they're not going to do that. So with that in mind, I'm going to put them in the genuine dark horse category, because obviously, as I said, their team is so talented, and you have Ronaldo, anything could happen, but their manager severely holds them back. And there's also, experience as well. Like, a lot of these players, they weren't around for the Euro 2016 victory. Some of them weren't even around for their 2018 World Cup campaign. So there is a bit of inexperience there. On to the next country, we have the host nation in Qatar. And most people off the bat will probably be like, okay, no chance at all. They're not that good. I have seen this Qatari team play a decent amount over the past few years. Obviously, they won the Asian Cup. And as suspicious as that sounds, they were actually amazing in that tournament. By far the best team. They played at the 2019 Copa America. They did all right. They were at the 2021 Gold Cup. They were, just this close from making it to the final. They played some pretty nice football there. They were in the Arab Cup, and they didn't do as well in the Arab Cup, but still, they had some pretty good performances, even though it wasn't as consistent as before. So I've seen this team a lot, and this crop of players, while they are extremely unknown because all of them play in the Qatari League, they play really, really well together as a team. It is a very well-functioning team, very solid. They have some genuine goal scorers. They have some good defenders as well. But they obviously never played at the World Cup before. They've never gotten anywhere near the World Cup. This is the first time Qatar will ever play at the World Cup. And, they are in a tough group as well. But on the other hand, the host nation always does well. And there's a lot of suspicious stuff around Qatar being the host nation. Who knows what the referees are going to do, if they're going to be bribed or anything like that. I'm not saying anything, but I'm still leaving the possibility open. So because of that, I'm putting them in miracle territory. Up next, we have another country from the Gulf state, and we have Saudi Arabia. In Asia, Saudi Arabia is a very good team. They play some very attractive, aesthetically pleasing football, but I don't think that's going to translate to the world stage. I think just the player quality is far too low. I don't think that they're going to be doing anything serious. They are in a group where they are very easily the worst team, so I'm going to put them in no chance at all. From there on, we have Serbia. Now, this Serbian team, I've heard some people say they're the worst team at the World Cup. And then I've heard other people say that this team is a genuine dark horse or something like that. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think that they're the worst team at the World Cup, but at the same time, I don't think they have enough in them to really, make any waves or anything like that. I'm going to put them in the no chance at all. But out of all the other teams in this category, I think they are, probably the strongest or maybe the most well-rounded to a certain extent. Then we have Spain, and I've heard some people put Spain as their favorites to win the World Cup. And as someone who, has ancestry from Spain, and as someone who roots for the Spanish team, I don't think this team is going to win the World Cup. They are a very good team, but there are some serious flaws in this team, specifically defense and the primary goal scorer. I mean, we just saw it at the Euros. There were some matches or portions of certain matches where you look at this Spanish team and you're like, wow, this team is the best team in the world. Look how they're pinging the ball around. Look how talented the midfield is. And then you have other moments where they just completely lose the plot, and then they can concede a crazy goal, or, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Like, this team is just not consistent enough over the course of the 90 minutes. And there's some serious flaws. I mean, you know, their center back pairing between Pau Torres and Eric Garcia. I mean, Pau Torres is getting better and better with each year. Eric Garcia, I don't know. I don't rate him. I don't think he's that good of a defender. Aymeric Laporte, as good as he is for Man City, hasn't really been as good for Spain as well. Not only that, like, the guy's not even Spanish. Like, he's French, and then, you know, France wasn't calling him up for some reason, so now he's Spanish. But also Unai Simon in goal, like, as good as he is for Bilbao, which he is very good for Athletic Bilbao. You have to give him credit there. He's not good for Spain. I mean, this guy makes so many simple mistakes. We saw it at the Euros with that wacky own goal. Like, what was he doing there? And then also up top, you have Morata. Now, Morata, in my opinion, is a guy that can be a incredibly useful impact sub. You bring him off the bench like he was when he was playing for Real Madrid. The guy can win you a ton of games. Or like he was for Juventus, his first season with Juventus, where he was partnered with a more, I guess, consistent striker like Carlos Tevez. Together, they were very, very good in the Champions League. But him as the main guy, him as the main number one, I don't think he can cut it. Now, he'll have moments of brilliance, but then he'll also have moments where he misses an easy tap in, or he misses a very easy header, or he completely ruins an attack by losing the ball, something like that. That being said, Spain have one of the best, if not the best, midfield on the planet. I mean, that midfield is completely star-studded. And, you know, they also have, I think, for the future, the most bright future. If you look at guys like Gavi, Pedri, Ansu Fati, once these guys become into their prime, I mean, maybe Spain then will have like a genuine favorite. But at the moment, I'm going to put them in the realm of possibility because, you know, if Pedri or Gavi or both of them have, you know, the tournament of their lives, that could drag them to the World Cup trophy. But in the more likely event that they have a, you know, relatively average tournament or something like that, this team can go far, but I don't think they have it in them to win just yet. Up next, we have South Korea, and, you know, I have to be honest, I don't really expect much of the South Korean team. I do think that Son is an underrated player to a certain extent. I think he is, you know, top 5 best player in the Premier League, at least. And, you know, individually, I think he may have a good tournament, but, I mean, just look at the supporting cast. I don't think we're really going to see much of them. They're also in a very tough group with both Portugal and Uruguay. So because of that, I'm going to put them in no chance at all. Here up next, we have Switzerland. Now, this Swiss team is the perennial average team. As I've heard people say before in the past as a funny joke, they're never bad, but they're never really good. And I think that rings true with the exception of Euro 2020. I thought they were actually pretty good at Euro 2020, but yes, I mean, the squad, it's not a bad squad by any means, but at the same time, there's no standout, like, world-class player or anything like that. This is a team that just has, you know, round of 16 / quarterfinals written all over it. And that's pretty much what Sweden do at every tournament. They do well enough to get out of the knockout stage, and then they come up against a big team, and then they get eliminated. I mean, obviously, anything could happen in tournament football. Crazier things have happened before. I don't think that Switzerland is going to come anywhere near winning the World Cup. But like I said, they are a very competent and very consistent team, so I'm going to put them in miracle territory. From there, we have Tunisia, and if it wasn't for Ghana, I would say that this Tunisian team is the worst team to make it to the World Cup. They had a very favorable draw to get here, and, you know, you just look at this squad, there's no names that really pop out at you besides maybe, you know, Jaziri or Kazari. Besides that, nothing really going on with this team. Now, I do think that they have a leg up on a lot of other teams who are relatively around the same player quality, and that is that this Tunisian side does have experience at the World Cup. They made it to the last World Cup. And they have gone far in previous tournaments, such as, the Arab Cup or previous iterations of the AFCON. But still, saying that, they are also drawn into a very tough group, so I'm going to put them in no chance at all. Next, we have the United States, my team. As a proud American, I am very excited. I'm super elated that we are back at the World Cup. And, we're going to win the whole thing, of course. The United States, Pulisic is going to score a hat-trick in the final. The U.S. is going to come out. We're going to be the first nation outside of Europe and South America to win.
Get up, cocksuckers. It's all over. You know why? Because we're Americans, cocksuckers. Who the fuck do you think you're dealing with?
So, kidding aside, this team is, full of very exciting youth talents. Like I said before, you have Pulisic, McKennie, Gio Reyna. The list goes on. There's a bunch of other guys as well. And as I said before with Ecuador and Canada, there isn't really much pressure on this team. They could play really well. They could play really bad. They're not much is really expected of them. But on the one hand, also they lack experience. These guys have never played at a World Cup before. If DeAndre Yedlin makes a squad, he'll be the only American player who's been at a World Cup before. Also, Greg Berhalter, he's not the worst manager in the world. I think he gets overhated and he gets a lot of unfair criticism. But at the same time, I think the U.S. could be doing better. I think the U.S. could have gotten a better manager. And he does make some really odd decisions at times. Now, in a tournament, who knows? He could get everything right or he could get everything wrong. I'm going to put the U.S. in miracle territory. I think they have enough talent to be better than all these teams in the category below. But still, there is a very clear ceiling with this team. In the future, who knows? Hopefully they get a lot better. Hopefully we get a better manager and these players keep developing. But at the moment, I think they are on par with these other teams in this category. Next up, we have Uruguay. Now, if you had asked me where Uruguay would be standing about a year ago, or half a year ago, I would have said, Uruguay may be miracle territory because they are in terrible form. However, they've really turned around since they sacked Tabarez. Very sad to see him go, but it was the right thing to do. A new manager came in, and a bunch of new talented young players came in as well, and you mix that in with some of the reliable veterans who have been around for a decade or even more. And we have a very serious Uruguayan team that has kind of been flying under the radar. If you look at their past results, they've had some very, very good matches, very good performances. Darwin Nunez up top, I think that guy could turn out to be one of the best strikers in the world. But of course, you still have Suarez and Cavani. To what capacity will they play a role? Not really sure, but both of those guys have a ton of tournament experience, a ton of World Cup experience as well. And also, Fede Valverde in midfield, one of the most underrated midfielders. I think he was essential to Real Madrid winning the Champions League this year. And if it wasn't for Thibaut Courtois, he would have been the man of the match in the final, in my opinion. So because of that, I'm going to put them in genuine dark horse. This team is not very deep. They don't have the deepest squad. Uruguay is a very small country, of course. But, they have a lot of experience. They have a lot of history as well. Don't forget, Uruguay won the first World Cup, and they've actually have 2 World Cup victories. And technically, they have the 4 stars on the badge because they won the 2 Olympics before the World Cup was created and all that. But, they are a very serious team, in my opinion, and who knows? For the very last team, we have Wales. Now, credit to Wales for qualifying for this World Cup. I thought they played very, very well in qualification. But saying that, this team is not very deep. There's some average to below average players in almost every position in this squad. The only standout players they really have is, Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey. And even still, Bale is not the player he once was. Aaron Ramsey, same with him. So I'm going to put them in no chance at all. I don't think Wales is going to really be doing anything at this World Cup. They're a fun team to watch. I don't think they'll be, breaking any records or anything like that. So anyway, guys, this is my tier list. Every team's chance at winning the 2022 World Cup. Just looking here, we only have 3 in the genuine chance category with Argentina, Brazil, and England. Without looking at the bracket, if I were to choose who's going to be in the semifinals, I'm going to say it's these 3 teams, and then either Spain or Germany. I'm going to lean Spain. So I'm going to say that quarterfinals or semifinals are going to be Argentina, Brazil, England, and Spain, with either England or Argentina winning it all. So those are my early predictions, as well as the tier list. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you're from one of these countries and you either disagree or agree with my opinions. Put them in the comments below. Do you think I've underrated some of these teams here? Do you think I've underrated some of these teams here? Like, do you think Belgium or Netherlands is much better than I think they are? Do you think I overrated some teams? Do you think this English team is nowhere near as good as I said they were, or Denmark, for example, or even like Argentina or something? Do you think I'm overlooking one of these smaller teams? Some people would say, you know, I don't know, Japan or maybe Serbia or Wales can go a lot farther than I predict them to. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. Let me know if you want to see me do anything similar to this or any type of games, or, you know, in the past I've done some Sporkle quizzes. Let me know. But anyway, guys, my name is Brandon. This has been the Football Block. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.